and good morning. We'll be going live in just a few minutes. Today's stream is going to be z80 assembly. We're going to be continuing a little program I started last week, so hopefully that's going to be of some interest to you. Now, as well as this stream, I'd just like to introduce the other streams I have. We have this stream every week, the 5 AM programming stream. It's called that because it's 5 AM in Japan at the moment. So we do this programming stream every week, and it is going to be Z80 for the next few weeks because we're going to be continuing on this programming project for a short while. So this will be quite continuous for a few weeks, but generally we do switch around to assembly languages. Good morning, Mark. Kind of you to join me in the chat there. Now, as well as this programming stream, there is a Saturday gaming stream. That's later in the Japanese day. That's going to be 10 AM UK time. And tomorrow we're hoping to be playing some Western NES. We've been playing some Famicom in the past, but we're going to move on to the NES for this week because we switch around hardware, and we do play on real hardware the vast majority of the time in my streams. I don't use emulators where I have the option, and generally I do have the option because I have quite a lot of real hardware looking around, and so it's a good opportunity to give it all a go. Hello Jesus, very kind of you to join me as well. The stream will be starting in just a few minutes when we get to the official 5:15 starting point. So yes, anyway, so as I say, we'll be working on the Yquest again today and just seeing if we can make some more progress, getting it a little bit better and a bit closer to being a real game. Of course, the plan is, if it becomes a real game, to use it as the template for another tutorial series. If I get it working okay on the CPC, I will port it to the other 8-bit systems I cover in the tutorials. Now, tutorials, as a tutorial aside, I'll just tell you, I have been working on the PDP-11 tutorials this week. The code is already written for them. I've been working on the web documentation, and it's been going okay, but I have been busy with a few other things this week, so it's taking a little bit longer than I expected, but that's not a problem. It's still going pretty well. Okay, well, we're close enough to 5:15 now, according to my clock here, so let's just make a start and get on with our program. And hello there. So here we go. We've got our window as usual. Now, I'm hoping everything's going to go well today, but we are in a bit into the territory of the unknown today because this is actually my new machine. I had been making vast threats against my cheapo mini laptop, saying that its days were numbered, and its days are now past numbered. It is sitting in the corner doing nothing. This is my new machine. This is an i9, a shuttle mini PC with an i9 processor. So we're now basking in the glory of 30 frames a second at full HD. So you can see that mouse move far more smoothly now, and that's going to be about the only difference for this stream. So it'll make more difference in the gaming stream, I'm sure, but for today's stream, it's always going to be fairly simple. So probably a bit overboard, but I needed to test the hardware, and as I say, I've had to unplug everything to get the new machine into position with all of the monitors and all the other equipment that I'm using. But it should be a lot better because I can currently drive 2 monitors, and I have got a dedicated video card on order for it, and then I'll be able to drive 3, and that does help with the software. So I think in general the streams will be a lot better, but please excuse if there's any minor problems in today's stream because, as I say, the machine is very new. I only built it a few days ago, and while it seems to be okay, and I think the streaming software is all installed and working properly, who knows. So anyway, that aside, let's just have a quick look at our program as it stood. Now, we're recreating the game Yquest, which was a mouse-based game, but we've converted it to be joystick-based. And so we're controlling our little Y in a circle there. And the way it works is we select a direction, and then we continuously fly in that direction. And we've got some limited acceleration control, you can see. And if I just reset, and I build again, and if I just do a call and 1-200, you can see we've got an enemy that's flying across the screen. So that's what we're doing. That's very kind of you to join me, Luke. Good morning indeed, and I hope everyone is enjoying assembly, because otherwise they'll probably find this stream a little bit confusing and boring. So that's yes, indeed, it is very much a very programming oriented stream today. Tomorrow will be the gaming stream, which will be more light-hearted. So anyway, so let's have a look what we can do today. So anyway, just in case you didn't catch the last one, essentially the code that is drawing the player and handling the player's acceleration is also handling the computer enemy acceleration and movement. So let's just that here. Now, I think what I need to do is I need to document this, because otherwise I'm going to get very, very confused. So we've got the first value is x pos, then y pos, then x pos 2, then y pos 2. Oh no, the first value is the sprite number, the sprite address. Now this is essentially an array of attributes here. So that's 2 bytes, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we're going to want, ideally we're going to want it to be some kind of multiple of 8. Oh, hi there, Quasar. It's very kind of you to join me today. I'm afraid we're going to be writing this game initially on the Amstrad CPC, not the SAM, but if I can get it working on the CPC, it is my plan to port it to the other 8-bit systems in my Z80 tutorials and beyond if the potential is there, time constraints wise. So I'm hoping this is going to come out on the SAM Coupe. Essentially, if I can get this game working, it would be like my Grime Z80 series, where it expanded to all of the systems and beyond. So, okay, so I've got this now, and what I want to do next is I want to have another one, which is going to be program. It's going to be called program. And we will define program 0 as being just what's happening at the moment, which is absolutely nothing, a dumb program. So we need to do this for the player as well, because otherwise it's going to malfunction. So for better or worse, I'm using the same code that draws the player to draw the enemies, and hopefully maybe everything, bullets and things as well. So we defined all these. Where were these? So we defined these here. So we use it. That's quite handy. I forgot what I did last week. Unfortunately, I'm especially tired this week because not only with my usual activities, I've also been up late getting this new machine ready. So the sleep deprivation is strong this morning, unfortunately. So it's going to be one of those days where I sort of don't really remember what I programmed, so never mind. I've barely used the Amstrad CPC. Okay, Quasar. Okay, well, I mean, in the area I live, the CPC was very popular, but depending on the country you're in, and I think even potentially, regionally and things, there's big differences. The SAM Coupe was very rare. I think I saw one once, that was it, but I really didn't come across it. So, but as I say, that you find there's countries where the MSX was huge and the Amstrad was non-existent, like Japan, of course, and you find there's sort of people who knew them a little bit but didn't really come across them. But as I say, for me, I mean, the reason I'm starting programming on the Amstrad CPC is honestly more because it's got the built-in assembler and debugger, not just because I'm familiar with it. So as I say, that's my reasoning. It's not a sort of tribal thing. It's just if I'm making a new game, I'm going to make a lot of mistakes, and I'm going to make them on a live stream, which is a bit embarrassing. So what's the system that I will make the fewest mistakes on? And it's the Amstrad CPC. So that's why it's it's not because I have more passion for the CPC than the other systems. It's just that, say, the emulator I'm using makes it easiest for me. So this is our start draw routine here. Okay. No, we'll call that. I'll put a space in the label name. That's bad programming. What can we call this? Program. Okay. You grew up with the ZX Spectrum when you're in Scotland. The Spectrum seemed to rule. A mix of ST and Amiga. Okay. I missed out on that 16-bit era because I didn't have the 16-bits. I couldn't really afford them when I was a kid. Those 16 bits, the ST Amiga. I would have loved an Amiga, but I didn't have one. And then, you know, I moved on to the PC, so I missed it. I kind of, my 8-bit experience was extended, and then it was straight to the PCs. And although the Amigas were superior to the PCs back then, sufficient of a percentage of my interest was really programming, not just playing games. That the CPC's flexibility just, you know, beat all of the other systems for me, because I could, you know, make my own stuff and draw my own pictures and things. So that was why, you know, even when the Amiga was still vastly superior to the PCs I owned, I just lost interest in it all. So I never really followed that. But I knew a few people with ZX Spectrums, though I think I knew more people with Amstrads. I don't know why. It's very strange. Maybe it was just because I talked to the people with the same computers as me, maybe. Not sure. So anyway, this code here is going to check for the program byte, and it's going to act upon it. And this is going to allow our computer control player to move around and change direction. And how are we going to do that? Well, we need our random number generator, don't we? We need a random number generator, so let's see what we can find. So I got this right. I'm just looking at this random number generator. This is part of the Chibi Aliens code, and I'm just wondering whether this is simple enough to include in this program here. I think it is. I think it'll work okay. I can't remember how it works. It uses BC. It returns two random bytes in BC, and it uses a random seed in random seed. Imaginative. So if we just do a DW0, we can just do random. Now, of course, it is it's intentionally a pseudo-random number generator, so it's going to produce the same results for the same seed every time. However, if we seed it differently, it will produce different random numbers, so that's not going to be a problem. Okay, now B and C are being loaded in just here anyway. So I think we don't need to worry about load A, comma C, and percent 0011000 PN. What am I doing? Too many other assembly languages. JRNZ, comma program. Okay. Yes, Mark. That's Yes, that's exactly right. That's what I'll do in the end. Yeah, use the joystick input of the player to seed the random numbers. Yeah, I mean, press fire to start it, and then start counting a seed up, and then when the player press fire, use that seed to start the game. Something like that. Yeah, you're entirely right. That's what you would do. But as I say, at this stage, it being not actually random could be helpful, because it means that I can see the same events every time the game starts, and so I know that I know what happens and know if my code has got better or worse. So yes, you're entirely correct, Mark, about random number generation. So all I'm doing is I'm taking 2 bits here, and if there's 0, I'm going to change the direction of the enemy. How are we going to do that? Well, let's where's my manual? I had to reorganise my desk and I've lost my cheat sheet. Where's it gone? Oh dear, that's not good. That cheat sheet's effectively half of my brain at this point. It's missing. There it is. Let's have a look. Can we do an XOR of an IX address? Yes, we can. But that's not going to work anyway. That's not going to work right. We don't want to XOR it because that'll set the acceleration up to 255. Okay, so we'll just have to do this simply. Load A XOR %1, flip the bottom bit of that. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Amiga was very cool, Luke. As I say, I missed out. You know, it's not that I missed it; I missed out. You know what I mean? I knew one person who had one, I think, and I'm. There's at the time it felt like it was sort of arcade quality, which I mean I think that's a slight exaggeration, but it was extreme. There's no doubting it was extremely good. So yeah, as I say, I think I did miss out certainly a bit there, but I do have one now. I have an Amiga 600, I think it is. I don't play it very often, but at some point we will. Okay. So yeah, this uses a where's the lookup tables? It uses lookup tables. I'd forgotten. Here they are. Yeah, we will be playing some of the bad expression. Okay. I'm cribbing code from Chibi Aliens, which is compiled with VASM, whereas now I'm using WinApe just because, as I say, the debugger will help me out here. But I'm having some slight issues here because the syntax is slightly different. I suppose I could do a search replace, but just in case it replaces something I'm not expecting, we'll just do it manually. This is only a few items here. There we go. So compiled okay there. And now if I do call and 1200. Well, I was expecting him to move a little bit. Apparently not. So what's going wrong there then? Oh, actually, I should have checked my own player could still move, because that's going to be possible. Well, I'm still moving, so that's at least something. Okay, let's have a look at what I've done wrong. I was expecting the enemy to move a little bit and then stop, and then move a little bit and then stop. But that didn't happen. Oh, okay, I put that in the wrong place. That should be all the way up here. And now it's just moving continuously. So loading in the X acceleration, which is defaulting to 1, and we're flipping the bottom bit, which will convert it to a 0. So I was expecting the enemy to move a little bit and then stop and then move a little bit. Hi there, Mike. Very kind of you to join me. Even if it's only for a short while, it's extremely generous of you. So pleasant to see you here. Hope you're doing well and having fun. We're working on this programming here, and it's not working, which is slightly disappointing. Let's add another 1 here. See if that makes a difference. No. Okay, I don't understand that. Let's have a look. Maybe my random code isn't working how I remember it. Let's have a look. So do random loads in BC. Ah, hang on a minute. This is... Oh, okay. I'm forgetting how this program works. It's returning. Do random is just returning in a do random word is returning in HL, I think. Looks like that's the case. So okay, so me using B and C, that's not right. That's not how the random number generator works. I've forgotten how my own random number generator is working. So that's a shame, isn't it? Okay, so let's just take that out and we'll put that back to the 0 it was supposed to be. Cool. And we've got a break here, which is what we would expect. And now the enemy should stop. It has stopped, and then eventually should start up again. Should start up again at some point. Not planning on... Oh, okay. No, that's okay. Why is he not starting again? Rand outputs to... Yeah. Code comments are for wimps. That's my theory, Mark. It's far more fun if you have to remember what it does and make yourself look an idiot on live streams. Yeah. The problem is that this code isn't... The Chibi Aliens code isn't finished either, you see. That's the trouble. So I'm taking unfinished borrowed code and then trying to write another program off the back of it, and that's why that happened. Okay, so now let's try again. not working. It's supposed to start again. It's supposed to stop and start. Why is it not starting again? Let's just do is O program set right? Because if that got set to 0, then the enemy would stop and never start again. Where is it? Yeah, I've made a mistake here. The acceleration is set to 7, and the program is set to 7. The program should be set to 8. That's what's wrong. Yeah, that's what the problem is. Yeah, and do get a trap there, and then another one there. That's more like what I'd expect to see. Yeah, there we go. There we go. He's moving around a bit more unpredictably. So, okay, so that's good. So what we'll do now is we've got our random number generator here, and then if we load B with A here, so if those two bits are 1, then we're not gonna, it aren't 0, then we're not gonna change anything. But if we, how are we going to do this? Load A comma B, and then we'll do an AND of 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and then we'll XOR this. Why caps lock? I mean to caps lock that. So then we're XORing that bit here and storing the result in. So we're going to flip the bottom. We're going to flip the acceleration based on that bit in the y-axis, and then we're going to use this bit here, and then we're going to XOR the x-axis. And if we just build that and do a call. Yeah, we don't need that. Go away. Don't need that anymore. Okay, that's not enough, is it? That's only making him go right. I need to do that differently. So what do I need to have it either I need to set it to 1 or -1. That's setting it to 1 or 0. So how can I make it do that? Just trying to think what the most efficient way of converting it to a negative or a positive based on a bit is. I could do a compare. I could. Is there any better way than just doing a compare? Because if it was 2 and I subtracted 2, if I did it. Yeah, if I rotate it to the left, it'll become 2. If I subtract 2 from 1, it'll become -1. But then it'll become, yeah. My head's not working very well at the moment this time in the morning. I can't think of a better way of doing it. So okay, so this is going to be, we're going to call this don't flip X, don't flip Y. Application option. Do we have on z80? Do we have a neg command? No. Oh yes we do. Yes we do. So we have neg, but only on the accumulator. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's worth having. If it's only on the accumulator, I'm not sure if that's going to save us anything. It's not, is it? Okay, so we want to do CPL. CPL is only on. Okay, so we've got to use the accumulator then. Load A from that, and then neg, and then save it back. I can't think of, I mean, maybe there's a better way I'm forgetting, but I can't think of a better way here. He's having a bit of a spasm up there. Look at him go. I'm not sure that's the most menacing of patterns, but yeah, I mean, I'm happy with that. I mean, the plan is, you see, that there will be this is program 0 means that the code here does nothing. I mean, this is effectively program 1 here, which is this kind of wiggly randomness, and then there will be other programs which will do different things again. So that's, as I say, that is program 1 there. Okay. So there we go. So we've got one enemy on the screen. So let's add a second enemy to our enemy array size. Okay, it's going all the way up here. Where's our enemy? Oh, here it is. Here it is. Okay. Tabs are far too wide for my liking here. That should be half what it is, I think, on WinApe. To be fair, WinApe is quite old, unfortunately. This build is a couple of years old now. I believe there was a beta floating around. Some of the live streamers seem to have a closed beta, which unfortunately I don't have. But as I say, although it isn't perfect, WinApe in my mind is the best for beginner programmers still. So it's quite interesting to see the different assemblers and their responses to labels and things. Some of them require the colon and other ones don't. I'm not sure if some of them actually require the tab on commands either, for that matter, but I'm always being more careful just to make sure I always put the colon at the end, just because some of them it is completely essential. So okay, so DJNZ, and then what we want to do is we need to increment IX by 10, I think, but well, we need to look at that. So we can do an add IX of BC, it looks like. So, and we'll just do a load of with I'm going to load in 16 because I need more data anyway. So we're going to define the size of each object as being 16 bytes. So that's 2 bytes there. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So that's 16 bytes per object on the screen, which is a lot. That's a lot. That's because we're storing the acceleration and the second player information here. I mean, maybe we could avoid that. Maybe that would be the better way to go. I can look at that later. We could use a temporary buffer just during this loop and not save that here. 16 bytes per player object. That's more than GB Ackerman's used. So as I say, that's a lot. But yeah. I will actually just take Mark's suggestion here and let's put it in. There we go. So let's try this again. And we should now have a second enemy on the screen. Except we don't. Except we don't. Why don't we? That has gone completely wrong. It's a bit disappointing. I'm a bit disappointed by that, to be honest. Okay, so what's gone wrong there then? So let's just read out our code here. So there's our sprite address, our X position and our Y position are the first 2 bytes. So I've changed the oh, hang on a minute, these should be 50, shouldn't they? Yeah, those should be 50. I don't think it's going to matter, Mark. I think the horrendous risk of coding bugs in these live streams is pretty high. I don't think 5 AM is the best time to be programming things, and I don't think streaming it to the world is the best way either necessarily. It just I'd say it puts the stress on a bit more, but I'm kind of resigned to the program code failing anyway. This kind of stream, so we'll just see what happens. Well, let's have a look. So my code is not working. I was expecting 2 players to appear, 2 enemies to appear on the screen, but they didn't. Okay, right. Well, my object loop, that's not right for starters. My object loop's running twice there. Ah, okay. So that's in the wrong place. So that needs to be there, and that's in the wrong place. That needs to be there. Wasn't paying attention there. And if we do it again, call 1200. There we go. We've now got 2 enemies on the screen, and they're kind of lummoxing around there, such as they are. Okay. So that's fairly acceptable there. I think I'm quite satisfied with that. I'm just going to look over my code here and just see how I'm using those player attributes here. So I'm using player acceleration here, but I'm not actually using xpos2 and ypos2. You see, I think we can get rid of these altogether. I think we can. Let's just think what other attributes we might need. I'm thinking ahead, you see. If I can only use 8 bytes for each enemy. You see, I can save some memory and I can program out these two here. But if I can't use 8 bytes, then I want to use 16. I want to use a multiple of 2, a power of 2, because it's easiest to calculate the positions within the array, because then you can take the object number and do bit shifts until it becomes 2, 4, 8, 16, and that's a good way of selecting the offset within the data array for any particular object. But so as I say, the question is, can I do it within 8? Because if the answer is no, then there's no point optimizing it. I assume I can. So I've got my program here. I might need a life counter or something. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that would be the 8th one. Well, okay. So let's change this to last pos. It'll also be more efficient if you're not. Well, will it? Maybe it won't actually. I'll shut up. I'm just trying to remember how the IXs compare to direct memory reads here. So we're gonna use last pos X and last pos Y here instead. So because we're completely handling the player, the object within the loop, and then finishing, I don't need to remember the last position of the enemy across loops. That doesn't matter, I don't think. So we can just do that instead, and then we can rem these two out. Missed one. I knew I would. Last pos. Come on. There we go. That's better. What's all these typos? It's not good. Last pos. Should be last pos. That's better. And if we go here and we call I'm not entirely sure that worked. What happened there? Something crazy happened. What happened? Something very strange. Okay. Okay, I know what's going on here. Right, so I've changed my code here, but what is actually happening now is the player program is being read in from some data down here. I forgot to change my parameters to reflect the change in the player program, in the program code. So I can now take away these two, and I can take away these two, and we'll just add 2 bytes here, like, just for now, because as I say, I'm padding this out to 16 at the moment, but my hope is maybe I can squeeze it within 8 bytes per definition. And then what I need to do is I need to change these accordingly. So that's now 4, 5, and 6. There we go, that's better. So that's got our things working. Now, another optimization I could do to save some bytes here if I need to, which I may decide I do, is if you look here, that each object within this array is defining the sprite number with a pair of bytes, and that's not very efficient. There are other options. I mean, the first easy one would be just to make sure all of the sprites appear in the same area, and then use an offset. So our sprites are all 8x8, so they're all going to be 16 bytes, I guess, on this system. So if we use sprite 1, it's 1 times 16. Sprite 2 will be 2 times 16, and so on. So we could calculate the offset from the sprite number times 16. So we could store just a single byte and calculate our sprite address like that. Or the other alternative would be, even simpler, would be to use like a vector table and have a sprite number 1 here, and then have a vector table of sprites and addresses, and just read the addresses in there. But I think, as I say, I think the easiest thing would be to just have all the sprites in the same memory address and just use an offset. But as I say, I'm not worried about that for now, because actually, I mean, in terms of CPU power, this is more efficient because we're not doing any calculations of that address. But in terms of memory, it will be less efficient in the long run, but my priority is to get within 8 bytes per definition, and we are currently within 8 bytes per definition. So we will leave that particular sleeping dog to lie for another day. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we just need 1 db0 here to pad out to our 8 bytes, and then we will change. We will. Oh yeah, where is it? Sorry, just it there. There it is. Enemy object size. Object byte size. And that's going to be 8. So we're 8 bytes per object. Okay. So what time is it? It's 6 o'clock. So what can we do next then? I think next we're going to do some collision detection then. I think we need to do some collision detection. Okay, so how will we define collision detection? Because we could use the program. Some objects are going to need to collide with the player. The player doesn't want to collide with the player because that's going to be silly. The enemy's will collide with the player, and then if the player collides with them, the player will lose a life. But if there will be other objects in the game that may or may not affect the player, for example, power-ups would affect the player, but they would affect the player in a positive way. And collecting, there's going to be some kind of crystal or coin or something you've got to collect to continue through the game, and they will again affect the player in a different way. Now, the question I'm asking myself is, do I want to use the program to define how the objects affect the player, or do I want to use a separate byte to do that? And the answer, I think, is I want to use a separate byte. That's the answer, because all enemies will affect the player in probably the same way. Power-ups will affect the player in a different way. So I think I need a different byte. Player. So we'll just need a padding byte here because we need to make sure, because we're using the same code for our player as we are for the enemies here. So dummy byte for action collision action. So this is going to define so we've got a program byte which defines how the object moves, and we've got a collision byte that defines how the object interacts with the game world, shall we say, or something like that. And initially, that's going to be how the object collides with the player, but it will also be how the player's bullets collide with the object. So there will be other elements to it. Now, the only thing I'm thinking is maybe that this isn't the right way of doing it. I'm just wondering if this is excessive, because it's probably going to be better to have multiple arrays and program them differently, because there's going to be an array of bullets, and the array of bullets will need to be, the bullets are going to be compared to other objects, whereas there's going to be an array of enemies, and the enemies are going to be compared to the player. So okay, I'm just thinking this through in my head, how I want the game engine to work. With Chibi Akumas, there was the star array, which was the bullets, and there was one for the enemy and there was one for the player, and they both used the same code, and it was self-modifying code, so it switched different parts of the collision detection on and off depending on if it was player bullets that needed to be compared to enemies, or enemy bullets which need to be compared to the player. I'm not going to use self-modifying code in this because it would not work well with things like the Game Boy and the Master System, which are ROM based, so there will be no self-modifying code, but the principle would still stand. I think I don't know. What I'm going to do, I'm going to leave it in, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the code for the collision detection here. So I'm going to the draw play routine, while it's currently handling the acceleration of the enemy, I'm not going to have it handle collision detection, because, as I say, the collision detection is going to be quite significantly different for a bullet compared to a enemy. The comparisons are going to be different. You know, the enemy is going to compare to the player object, whereas the bullets are probably going to compare to the enemy object. So the criteria would be very different. So for now, I'm just going to put this as a separate loop, and I'm going to just put it in line. Oh no, let's not. Let's put it as call object collision. Call object collision. Okay. We'll just put it here. Object collision. Okay, so we're going to have some code just here with a return, of course. And so what we're going to do is we're going to load the XPOS and we're going to compare. What's our compare options? Well, nothing with CMP, isn't it? So CP, and okay, so we're going to compare. Now, I'm not going to check if the objects collide with each other. I'm going to assume that doesn't matter. Might come to mattering later, just depends on how I continue doing things. But I'm going to assume that enemies can't hurt other enemies. Now, it's possible a power-up hitting an enemy might want to destroy the power-up. I don't know yet, but that's certainly something. So if the... Well, actually... been programming PDP-11 all week, and that only looks at the first 6 characters of the strings. So now I'm a little bit nervous about using very long labels for my things. It's like maybe that should be shorter, but there's no limit in this system, so we will use the more descriptive label. So I'm becoming a bit nervous because of doing that. So for now, I'm just going to check if the X position is the same. Now that's not quite good enough because the player is 8 lines tall. But for now, for the first test, I'm just going to use the exact player position. And if the player collides, we'll do a halt. We'll just stop the entire game for now. Yeah, we need some kind of life counter there, but I haven't got one. So let's go over there and let's start her. Just trying to collide with one of these, and oh, I went straight through him there, so that's not working. Okay. Okay, let's just double check. I'm loading in the XPOS of the player, comparing to the XPOS of the object, and if they don't match, jumping down here, and then I'm doing the YPOS, comparing to the YPOS of the object. That should be there for start. Why didn't that work then? Okay. Let's put a breakpoint here. Fair enough. I mean, it's difficult with that IX. I can't see the exact value. I went literally through the player there. That should have caused the halt. Can't see why that didn't work. Let's the player is 2 bytes wide, so I'm subtracting 1 here, and if it's still greater than the player position, then it's above the player, then the object is above the player. And then if we do add 2 and do the compare again, not very efficient having all of these, but that'll do for now. So adding 2 and then comparing, and if it's I think I want that to be smaller. No. My head's. I can't think of this. I can't think this through in this time in the morning. It's too early for this code to code. So subtract 1 and then compare the player, and if the player is greater, and then add 2, and if the player is less. I think that's right. I always struggle with these comparison codes. There we go. Subtract 4 and add 8 and compile that. So we've and there we go. So that's locked up because I hit the enemy there. So that does look like maybe it worked okay. Yeah, okay. Okay, so there we go. So instead of doing that, what we'll do now is we will put the player back into the center, player hurt, and we will just do a load of 100. I don't know what code I'm writing there. That's some kind of weird Z80 6502 hybrid there. That's not right. So, and we'll do player y comma a, and then we need to load in 40 because the screen's 40 bytes wide. Turn that off. There we go. Now, in the original game, if you touched the side of the screen, you died. I haven't decided whether I'm going to replicate that functionality or not yet. I might. I don't know. It depends how difficult the game is. It's not going to be as easy with joystick control, but we We don't really have mice available to us, so joystick control is what the name of the business will be. So, okay. Now we do really need to blank the player here, maybe. So, so we'll just take the player off the screen here. We're backing up IX because we're still using that in our other loop, so that should work okay. And then we're resetting the player position here, but I also want to load 0, which I'm going to do in XOR A, which is one of the ways you can quickly 0 the accumulator. And then we want to store that in play XX and play XY. Because it's a bit bewildering when your player character has just moved to the center of the screen all of a sudden. So let's give them a bit of a chance to figure out what the heck's going on by just zeroing their acceleration. Is that working? Yeah, it is. It's all right. Okay. So, what will we need next then? We need to show the number of lives on the screen, I think. I think that's what we need next. Okay, let's see what we've got. Source CPC. Functions. So we've got a locate command here, we've got a print string, and we've got print char. Okay. So let's just do a notepad here. Get that notepad in the window here. Incidentally, I've got 8 people watching now. I'm curious to know what people think. There's a lot of silence in these streams because sometimes I'm not speaking. And I don't know if you can hear things like fan noise in the background from my computer and things. One thing I was thinking is having some music very, very low level just as sort of background sounds. I don't know what people think about that. I don't know if they prefer it to be silent or if the music from my introduction, if I just a moment, I'll just put my introduction music on. I was thinking maybe something like this. You could probably hear it in the background. So just at a very low level to cover the silence. I don't know if that would be preferable to people or if you just prefer the silence and that's okay for you. So just let me know if you have any opinion on that kind of thing. Just trying to, now I have a little bit more CPU power to play with this new machine. I can start to do things that are maybe I was being a bit more conservative with before. So as I say, if people think that a bit of background sound to cover the silence or just so you don't hear the whirring of my fans in the background, just let me know. But as I say, it's just something I was thinking of. Anyway, let's say if anyone's got any opinion, I'd be interested to hear that. But anyway, that aside, let's get this notepad up, and what I'm going to do is we want this print character routine. And we want this locate character routine, and we will have this print string routine. I'm not sure if we're going to want that print string routine, but we'll have it anyway. Lives. There we go. So I think the game had 3 lives, which is handy because we won't have to worry about like, hexadecimal and things like that. So you know, only one digit, which will make things a bit easier for us. So we'll be doing that. And we've got our lives message here. I'm not sure if we actually want that. We might just want a number in the corner just to keep things ultra minimalist. But for now, we'll have the lives text. So just copying some. Sometimes I copy a little bit of text into notepads just so that I don't need to, especially with this screen here, because this font is way bigger than I would usually have. So I can't get very much on the screen, and just sometimes it gets a bit frustrating. So as I say, sometimes I will copy little sections of code into Notepad so that I don't have to remember them. And so that's just what I was doing there. Now we need to put our char print string routines in here. So if we're going to do ld hl comma 0, and then we're going to do our locate. Now that's our x and our y position, so let's just make that clear by filling all of the bits in there, and then we're going to do load hl and do call string. And I'm going to do load a with lives, the value in lives, and then we're going to add the character for 0, and we're going to do call print call 120. Okay, now you can see there's some blinking going on up the top here, but I'm not worried about that. The game I'm making here is only going to be of the standard of Grime Z80. We're not looking to make anything particularly staggering. As I say, my priority is to get it to kind of work and to be kind of fun. And once I've got something that works and is reasonably neatly programmed, I'm going to try and port it to more systems. So I'm not prioritizing making the graphics snazzy or making the code as amazing as it can be. I'm prioritizing something that I can produce consistently on all of the systems. So, and for that purpose, silence would get no. Okay, Mark, I don't mind either way. You see, it doesn't. I don't care about having the silence. Now, the only thing I have found is I know some people use a mic cut. I forget what it's called. It's a minimum level, and if you go below the minimum level, it cuts off all sound, and that's to avoid like background sound, like the fan on my computer or my refrigerator and that kind of thing. And personally, I find this quite annoying because it becomes like a bit of an audio tick kind of thing that I can hear it, and it becomes very distracting. So I'd rather have like the background hum of the fridge or something over that. But I just thought, well, maybe some very low-level music might be preferable to people, just rather than the odd weird sounds. But as I say, I just wanted to. I'll do whatever people prefer, because it's not me who has to listen to it as such. So, as I say, I just wanted to see what people thought. So, okay. It would probably, if I was going to do music, it would probably actually be even lower than on that please wait screen. It would probably be much more real, virtually inaudible kind of thing. But anyway, as I say, just looking for people's thoughts on that. I could do something malicious, like have a sound of running water in the background, and everyone will be constantly rushing to the toilet or something. Maybe, I don't know. That's probably a bad idea. It'd be to discourage people from watching my live streams, wouldn't it? So just trying to think through the options. So okay. Anyway. Where were we? So we want to now we've got that live counter showing on the screen, we want to actually do a load of A from lives, and then or A JRZ comma player dead. Okay, and then DI halt, just do that, and then if we do deck A and then load that back into the live count. So here we've got a live count. We're reducing it by 1. Well, actually, we're first checking if it was already 0. If it's already 0, the player has already run out of lives, and then we're just killing them off with a DI halt for now because the game's over. That would be our game over screen, but we're not doing that for now. But if they've got any lives left, we're decreasing the lives and storing it back, and then we're returning to the main loop here. Now, we probably actually want some snazzy animation or some, well, not particularly snazzy animation. Maybe we'll just crib the death scene from Grime, I think. I quite like the death scene from Grime, so maybe we'll just use that again. But anyway, as I say, we just need to... we need some game over screens, and there we go, it went down to 2. And if we... Lives 1. Live 0. And if we just do one more, there we go. So our game has locked up, and that's because our player has died. Okay. Well, that's some decent progress here. And if you're not familiar with Win8, one thing I've been forgetting is you must save, because it doesn't save when you compile, and if it crashes at the end of your program and you've not done any saves, you will lose everything, which is a shame. Now, it doesn't crash very often, to be fair to it, but it does crash occasionally. So yes, that's something to bear in mind with old Win8. Do your occasional saves. Okay, so let's what I'm going to do now, I'm feeling sufficiently satisfied with myself today. I think progress has been fairly good, considering how tired I am this morning, to be honest. I was sort of... I was not expecting it to go very well, I'll be honest with you. But it's gone quite well indeed. So what I'm going to do for the end, just to have a bit of fun, is I'm going to actually work on some new sprites for the game. So if we look for... Where's Resol? Where's all sprites? Yquest. Oh, okay. So actually, I'd already done it. So let's just think this through then. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work on these sprites, and I think we need some animation. I think we need some frames of animation here. So let's think it through. I'd already done that one. I'd forgotten about that. I'm just trying to think how many frames of animation to have. Can I get away with, should I have 2 or 4? Well, okay, here's what we'll do. Jesus, you mean they've renamed the word life because it sounds too scary? It's probably for China. It's probably if you come back after you've lost your life, then it probably implies you're a ghost, and China will ban it or something. I got quite annoyed, Jesus, with the Super Mario on the 3DS, because when you die on it, if you die several times on a level, it offers you this super powered, amazing power up that allows you to just like vaporize every enemy in your path, kind of thing. And I got nothing against that for people who've literally given up, who can't win the game. Well, if you want to do that, then fine. But I picked it up accidentally, not knowing what it was, and then won the level. And it was like when I hadn't given up yet. Mark, no problem. I mean, basically, there's only 30 minutes left, and I'm just going to be drawing a few graphics. So you've seen everything that you need to worry about. The coding that continues next time will be basically more of the same anyway, so you don't particularly need to worry. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that enough? Is that enough? It's probably not enough. Okay, so let's do 9. 10, 11. You see, it's difficult because I want to have multiple frames of animation. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I think that's right. So that's 16 by 16. So I'm just going to fill that in. The sprite exporter will export down to 0 byte, you see. And then if I draw a second frame of animation just here, now usually I'd do this in Krita. I'd just do a copy paste in Krita. My program does have filling functions now, but it doesn't have block selection and copy paste. So and so that's kind of supposed to be that Y from the side. And then if we do this guy here, this thing's supposed to be like an alien with kind of big floppy ears. Okay, some terrifying rabbit alien maybe, I don't know. There was an alien with eyes or something, but I kind of did something vaguely similar, but he needs to have a big mouth this time. There we go. Yeah, it's quite funny. I like that. So there we got some frames of animation now. So if we do save sprites as Yquest, and then if we do it export z80 Amstrad CPC file, save raw bitmap. Oh, look at all that, look at it all. CPC Yquest, okay. Compile again. Now I'm thinking, I mean, it'd be fun to have 4 frames of animation, to be honest. Yeah, that would look, oh dear. Oh dear, that hasn't gone well at all. What's gone wrong there? Okay, I think I need to select 4 color here. Z80 Amstrad file, save raw bitmap, CPC Yquest. Confused. What's going wrong here? Oh, okay. No, I know what the problem is. I'm using the wrong option here. I'm using the wrong option. Firstly, that's the wrong color. I didn't mean to change the color of that. Okay, so I'm using the wrong function. Save raw bitmaps for linear. I need to use a different option. File. Save raw 8-8 tile. This one. This is the one I want. This is what I used for grime, and that's what will work for this example here. I forgot to compile my code, so I'm just running random code there. You usually end up hitting press play on tape there when you do that. So okay, right. The code is going across and then down, so that's not quite what I want here. So what? Slipping my mouse there. What's my mouse acceleration set to? What we'll do instead then, this will work better in general anyway. Now one option would be to rotate the tile organization, but we won't do that. So we'll just do resave, and I'll do this Control C, next bank, Control V, replace sprite yes, and then I'll just redraw that work I did here. So just redrawing that kind of those changes I made here. Well, it's hardly the Mona Lisa, is it? I don't think the world will be deprived by losing that original version there. I think his mouth looks quite good, as good as last time though. There we go. Yeah, that'll do. So if we go to last bank and then do file, Amstrad CPC, file, save all 88 tiles, CPC Yquest, save that, and then if I do next sprite, then next bank, and then do z80, and where is it? Amstrad CPC file, save right, and then we'll save this as CPC Yquest 2 for bank 2. Now, what we might do, I'd like to have 4 banks for fun, just to give a little bit of nicer animation to this game. The only thing is that on some systems that's probably not going to be possible. You know, some of the systems are going to be seriously limited on memory, and so by splitting into different banks here, we can kind of optimize. We can have different builds of the code for different systems with different amounts of memory, and that will allow us some flexibility, so we can have a nice looking system. Sprite frame. Okay. Thinking this through. Yeah, let's do that. So I need a calculator. How do I get my calculator up? I'm never one for these Windows keys. I don't know, the Windows key missed me by, but I do find with Windows 10 that the I usually use Classic Shell, but this machine's not set up properly yet. But I do find Windows 10 is so terrible. Its start menu is so bad that I just end up using the run command to do everything, which I don't know. The control panel as well, I always start up the classic control panel with it because it always seems to be easier for me to use. But anyway, so what we want to do is we want to calculate, and we're going to have 16 sprites, and we're going to have 8 times 2 bytes, so times 16. So each bank of sprites is 256 bytes. Well, that's handy because we can just load our sprite frame into where's our reading routine? Where's our sprite data routine? I've forgotten where it is. Okay, here it is. So we're loading A from sprite frame, adding, that's not right, I've done it wrong, it should be D. Each bank is 256 bytes, so we only need to load the top, we just need to add the sprite frame to the top byte, and that will offset us to the second sprite bank here. And then we're just going to, oh no, that's not the right place for that. If we go all the way up to the top of our code in the infinite loop here, where is it? Here it is. And then we just do this, load in our sprite frame, and we do XOR 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I always try and put all 8 bits in here. You don't need to, but I just feel that things like this, it just does make it clear what's going on. And as I say, this is intended as a tutorial at some point. Well, that hasn't worked very well, has it? Oh dear. Some things gone wrong there. Let's have a look. That should be add D. There we go. So we've got some animated sprites there. As I say, I'm thinking 4 frames would be a lot nicer. We could have like a smooth rotation of the Y, and we could have more comical animation on the old wiggly things there. So yeah, as I say, that's just the current position of the code here. Well, anyway, so we've got a few minutes left, so we'll actually do a little bit more work on this. So if we just we'll just copy this frame to here. And what I'm going to do here, if I go to the view menu, overlay last frame, that will show us the previous bank, you see. So I just want to make well, actually I'm getting a little bit confused here. It's kind of not entirely clear. So we're just mimicking that one there, and then in this one I've got an error message. It's not good. Actually, I'm finding that more confusing than I expected. Okay, so we'll turn that off. So I'm just going to make the mouth just a little bit open in this one, and the ears, or I'm not sure what they are. Don't ask me. I only drew it. The ears or the antennas or whatever those things are, I want to make them just a little bit closer to what they were in the first frame. And then this one, the Y is going to be backwards. So we just need to there we go. So there the Y is backwards. And in this one, that wants to be there. Okay, so that's our first frame. That's going to be our second one. File, save 4-color, Yquest 2, next bank, file, 4-color, Yquest 3, next bank, file, Yquest 4. There we go. 4 frames of animation for our game code. Yquest 2, Yquest 3, Yquest 4. And here we're going to now do an ink. I think we need to specify A, don't we? And then an AND. Because we want this to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 0. Cool. And there we go. So it looks to me like all 4 frames of animation are now working. And at that point, I think we're going to call it a day, if you will excuse the pun. We're going to call it a morning. It's nearly 7 o'clock, which is the time that I start getting ready for the endless joys that are known as work. So I hope wherever you are, you're having a great day. I hope you've had a fantastic new year, of course. If you've not caught my earlier streams in the year, but I hope you're going to have a great day. Or if it's the end of the day, I hope you have a good night. But whatever happens, I hope you have a fantastic time and you enjoy whatever you're working on. And if you're doing any programming, I hope it goes well for you. I hope you found this stream amusing. As I've said before, the code that you're seeing here, assuming it ends up being something resembling a playable game, will become part of a tutorial series, but we'll be continuing working on it in this form in the live streams next week. So if that sounds like something you'd like to see, please join me for that. I hope you've all found this quite amusing. The Yquest editor you can get from my website. It's included in all of my sources. And if you get the opportunity, please join me for tomorrow's gaming live stream, which will hopefully be of better quality than normal, because as I say, the new PC does seem to be working quite nicely. And that's allowing me to have better compression settings. I've increased my bitrate by 50%, which is the limit of the internet connection I have here. I've also increased the compression quality because I can now use more processing power for compression. And the camera should work better. So in general, it should be a better stream tomorrow than usual. So I'm hoping to play the NES. I haven't dusted it off and checked it still works yet, but assuming it does still work, we'll be playing the Western NES that I brought with me to Japan. So yeah, please join me for that. And if you've not liked and subscribed yet, please subscribe to the channel, because there's a lot of different content on here, and I've got a lot more planned in the future. Now I do have that new machine that will give me more flexibility, because I've got more processing power. I can use better cameras, and I can use more effects and things. So as I say, I've got a lot of stuff planned. So please join me for tomorrow's stream if it sounds of interest to you. But anyway, whatever you decide to do, I hope you have a lot of fun. I hope you have a great day now. Thanks for watching today, and goodbye.